let's take it over to Chris. Chris, you about ready?
Sure.
All right, very good. So, Chris, the show is all yours.
So Brian wanted to do Asteroids.
Yes.
So we're going to do Asteroids today.
I do appreciate that. We kind of last time when we tried to do Asteroids, we got cut off. So I want you to finish.
So we're gonna try to make a complete Asteroids game, score, graphics, the whole thing. We're gonna try to do it professionally, and I'm not gonna go over the basics of programming because I believe the two people that are here now have already seen it. So we'll catch other people up to speed when they pop in. Please, you two guys, if you could share the stream, that would help. So let's get started. I'm going to share my screen. Bye. And there we go, screen. All right, so as we showed you last time, here is the Fusion in its initial state when you open it. For Asteroid Project, we're going to go File New. Pretty basic stuff. You'll notice that the frame size defaults to 640 by 480. And then when I click on the application over here in the workspace toolbar, it's also 640 by 480 for the view space in our application. I'm going to change that today. I'm going to make it 1136 by 640. And then when I hit that, it's going to say, hey, do you want to change the frames as well? And I'm going to say yes. And you'll notice it up here. It changed. All right, so workspace toolbar, properties toolbar again, and then this is the storyboard editor. I'm going to go into our frame now. Now, I don't know many versions of Asteroid that have a white background, and I don't like it, so we're going to go here. We're going to change the background color, and I'm going to go to Other, so I want to select a kind of a dark gray. I want to go completely black, because we're going to try to make it look like an old school arcade game. Let's lower it down just a little bit more. Yeah, I think that'll do. Does everybody like that? I like it. Well, that's debatable, GGDA. Anyways, we got GGDA up in here cracking the jokes. So we're going to create our asteroid ship. I've gone into the picture editor. And then we're going to make the ship white. And I'm just going to create a white square because we want to increase the size a little bit to get the size of the ship that we want, the general size. And I'm going to go back into the picture editor. I'm going to delete it. Yeah, we're going to do a triangle ship, of course. What kind of operation do you think we're running here? Today we're going to do thick-looking lines. Oh, thought I'd finished the line. Okay. I thought I was drawing lines, so I'm going to have to edit that a little bit, but I'm going to copy, paste, mirror. And you can see that it didn't work very well, so we'll delete all that again. Try over. Maybe thickness of 3 is too thick, so we'll go 2. Start at the corner. Bring it about middle. It should be 32, so 16. Right here is information on where I am on a XY pixel by pixel percentage. Do the same thing here. Get it down to 16. Too high. There you go. Now I'm going to go here. Copy, paste, flip it. And that should be it. So there's our asteroid ship. Does that look good to you guys? The latest in Tesla spaceship designs. Nice. So there's our ship. Very basic. Very Asteroids basic in honor of Brian's request. So now that I have a ship, I'm going to go to the movement tab. And I'm going to go ahead and use the built-in spaceship movement. Last time I tried to use vector. The reason I used vector in the last demonstration is because that gives us 360 degrees worth of movement, whereas spaceship is limited to 32 directions. But rather than watch me fumble through vector, we're just going to use the spaceship movement. So when I select the movement type, you'll see that the properties have changed, the options. I'm going to kill the gravity strength because there's no gravity in space. And we'll just turn off the direction. And I'm going to increase the rotation speed to 40. At this point, if I was to run my app, and you can't see me, but I'm using the arrow keys. So I have thrust. And she doesn't seem to be turning very well. That's because we have only one direction. I could make 32 directions, but I'm going to show you how to use angles. So we're going to create in our event editor an always statement. So always is the condition, and then the action will be to set the angle, and we're going to pull the object's current direction, which is under animation, direction value, which is a 32 based direction. So I have to multiply it by 11.25 to convert it to 360 directions. And we'll go with maximum quality. So let's take a look now and see how it works. So now you can see the ship is facing up. I push up, I'm going up. Now the ship spins, and I can turn around. Looking good so far. I'm liking what I see. All right. Now that we have that, one of the fundamentals of Asteroid is screen wrap. So I'm going to test the position of our ship. I'm going to ask if it's leaving the left, top, right, or bottom of the screen. If it is, then we're going to wrap around the play area. So let's just scoot forward real quick. Of course, that's the way space works. You haven't been to space, you don't know. Screen wrap, how the universe really is. Well, it could be. It could be, a wormhole, which is basically the wrapping of space. So there you go. Now we need asteroids. So we go into the object selection by right-clicking, selecting Insert Object, grab another active object, and using the same color, I'm going to create another box, and I'm going to make this slightly bigger. So that would be our large asteroid size. So we go ahead and delete it, and then we got to draw the asteroid. I'm going to go with black as a background so you guys can see what I'm doing. Grab my line tool, and I'm going to start drawing our asteroid. I'm trying to remember what they looked like. It's kind of this kind of deal, if I remember correctly. You guys think this is how it looks in the original game? Are we going to get a cease and desist from Tato during the stream? All right. So there's our asteroid. I'm going to trim up the background, and we'll leave the center black. In fact, I think we'll do the same thing with the ship. We're going to make the center of it also black. Oops. There you go. The Big Bang is finally, okay. Well, that could happen. What are you going to do, right? So we're going to give this a random movement. We're going to give it a computer control movement like bouncing ball, I think. We're going to decrease the speed because the big ones need to go slower. And we'll run it and see what that does. So now we've got an asteroid. I think that's moving too fast. So we'll slow it down some more. Go down to 5. Run it again. Still, I think that's a bit too fast. What do you guys think? We'll go down to 2. Of course, now it'll probably, yeah, that's perfect. So now we have a ship, an asteroid. What is the hitbox of the ship and the asteroid? That's a great question. So each object in the properties under the, what we call the, it's not showing the text, the runtime options, has down here the collision use find detection will take the actual image and use the image itself for a pixel by pixel collision. But if I were to use no find detection, then it uses the actual shape of the box that the image is within. And so, you know, there are cases where you'd want both. I think for now, we'll stick with fine detection. All right, now we got to blow up some asteroids. We do need one other thing, though. We need a third asteroid, a second asteroid type, the small one. So repeating the process we did earlier, we'll draw a smaller asteroid. Of course, I would like to use the line tool. And we're talking something like this. And for giggles, because I'm all about giggles, we'll give it a small circle. Excellent. So there's our small asteroid and our big asteroid. Now that I look at them together, I'm not happy, so I'm going to do it over. Things got to look like they make sense together. Get rid of the background, and there we go. Forgot to center the hotspot here as well. The hotspot being the pin, if you will, on your image. So when I rotate the image, it'll rotate on that axis of this pin. And we call that the hotspot. You also have an action point. The action point allows you to create objects from this specific point. Glad I answered the question. All right, now let's start naming things. Large asteroid. You know what? Let's be cool. We're cool. A large roid. Small roid. Ship. All right. Cut it out, Zap now. All right, so I'm going to put both these asteroids up here. And I'm going to select both of them. And now the Properties tab will give me shared properties between both so that I can manipulate the properties of multiple objects. And I'm going to unclick Create at Start because I don't want them at the beginning. Now we're going to go into our code. Do some commenting. First comment is, we'll call this set ship angle. And it might help if I spell correctly. And then copy our comments, paste it, change the text. We'll call this wrap ship around. You know, our rocks need to wrap as well. So what we'll do is and this is where Fusion really comes in handy because it's very powerful to make inputting code quickly. I'm going to drag this down, double click the picture, change it to the rock, and then move the command over there. That's how fast you can work in Fusion when it comes to manipulating similar events. Do it again, select the baby rock, slap it, and now I've made 3 lines of code like that. All right, so that's our wrap ship around, but now we'll just say wrap objects around because we've included multiple objects. Now, you guys think I should wrap the bullets too? What do you think? We're going to make our bullet now. So GGDA says yes, wrap the bullets as well. Sounds good. So we're going to use a similar color. And we want to make sure that we do it in a square size, I think is what I want. But we need it to be an uneven number, an odd number. That way that the square is perfectly centered when we shoot it. And then I'm going to go like this. I'm going to copy it 3 times. I'm going to resize using the resize option. I'm going to say 3 by 3. And I'm going to reset the hotspot. And then on this one, I'm going to grow it. 7 by 7, proportional, stretch, apply, reset the hotspot. And the reason I'm doing that is I want a little bit of animation going. So we get this when we're shooting. Someone look it up on the video and see if, look it up on YouTube and tell us if it wraps around. So this becomes our bullet. I'm going to put it here so we can see it. Again, we don't create it at start. It needs to be named. bullet. Excellent. Now, do the same thing here. Change it to the bullet. Now you notice the bullet's a white color, and because it's very close to the transparent background color, one thing you can do is you can click on the object, go to the last tab, which is the About tab, and you can edit the icons separately. So I can go ahead here, add black, and now when we go back into our editor, you can see the bullet much clearer. Another little pro tip, if you will. All right, now we're going to create multiple asteroids. So we create a new comment, create asteroids. Our first event for that will be at start of the frame. We'll say start a frame, and we're going to do a subroutine. We're going to call the subroutine create roids, and we'll say let's do it 15 times. One thing I like to do is I copy the text. As your subroutine, you have to use the exact same string. Go to a new event, on the loop, or subroutine, create roids. And what we're doing is we're going to create a large roid, relative, not relative to anything. We're going to create it off screen. And you can see here where I'm creating it off screen. 50. And then once it's created off screen, we're going to randomly place it into the map. And we're going to do that by saying set the X position to random frame width, and then position Y random frame height. What that does is it takes the frame's width and height and give us a random number between 0 and that to position it. So if we ran the application now, you'll see that I have an asteroid and my ship is overlapping it. Now what have we noticed? We've got a cool gray background, but we have black in our asteroid. So that doesn't work very well, does it? So we can do that one of two ways. Again, I could go in here and just make it transparent. I think that'll look better. Run it again. And there we go. I've noticed the first time when I ran it, the asteroids and the ship overlapped. We can't have that. So what we need to do is we need to also say on the next line, start a frame, and if ship is overlapping an asteroid, right? Of course, we're having a hard time seeing what's what, so we can go back into here, edit the icons. And then when we come back, you can see that I'm asking if the ship collides with the asteroid, or overlapping, rather, it's start a frame. Now, start a frame does mean the first time we run it, but in our order of operations, I execute my fast loop first. So line 2, it is the start of the frame the very first time we run it. So we create the roids. That means it pauses the main loop, executes this code, and then resumes. So these are created before I reach the next start of frame. So from here, we then destroy the one that's overlapping. So let's test that. Let's see if that works. We're going to using the debugging tool up here, which is not quite showing up there. I'll drag it down so you guys can see. We have these play buttons. And what we'll do is we'll just run it a couple times and make sure that we have no overlap. And it looks like we do have overlap, so there is an issue. How are we going to fix that? Debug time. So maybe we just say like that. Let's see what happens. That seems to work. The other issue is we have asteroids overlapping each other, don't we? That's not good. So one way we could fix that is instead of using random frame width and height, we could take the object size. No, not everything works the first time. We could take the frame width and height. I'm going to resize this, by the way, so we can get the same exact numbers. There we go. Does that make it look horrible? It certainly does. So we fix it. Grab our line tool again, grab our color, draw a new line. Great. Now that we know that the object is 75 by 75, what we could do is we could randomly place the object, randomly select cells, and I'll show you what I mean by that. Just for giggles, I'm going to click here, duplicate, and we'll say 3 by 3. So what we do is we write a formula that randomly picks a cell rather than just on the scale of the frame width. We're not going to worry about it right now, but that's how you'd solve that. Get rid of our rogue asteroids and get back to the business of coding. All right, next thing. Shooting. Fun stuff. So what we're going to do is we're going to say joystick, read joystick state, fire button 1 is pressed. Now inside Fusion, it seems we're using default movements. Over here in the properties of the application, I believe it's here, you have default controls, which you can edit. You can set it to joystick or whatever, and you can change this at runtime too. Editor, selecting here. You change set input device, which is numerically based in the expression editor. We'll leave it the way it is. So conveniently enough, I have a launch and object event, and I can say launch the bullet, and I can say launch in the direction of ship. 50 is a bit, 100 is a bit fast, so we'll say 50 and see what that gives us. And we're shooting. And of course, it appears that you can see the bullet through the transparency of the ship, because again, it's using that action point or hotspot that I told you about. To fix that, we got to figure out what the color of the background is, which we do here, 27 across the board. And then we go to the ship, and we say here, give me a new color. Give me 27, 27, 27. Fill it. And then when I shoot the object right here, I'm also on that same line going to say bring to back. Now what happens is when I launch the object, I'm identifying, I'm selecting this instance of the object. So any code for that object in Fusion that happens on this event later will only affect this one instance. However, if I had put it like here, on my condition, I have not, or I haven't singled one out. I haven't singled one out, and I haven't identified one on a condition. It'll then change all of the bullets and bring them all to back. So let's run it and see if that worked. And it did. So we can see that the bullet is not quite showing. I don't like how it's not centered, so we're going to work on that next. We go back into our ship object. And we can see that it's not quite centered. If I move it like that, we should be good. There we go. Now it's coming right out of the gun like it's supposed to. Sweet. All right. Next thing we need to do is blow stuff up. Now in Asteroids, I can do a quick recap, sure. We started out by building a game of Asteroids. We created file new to start a new application. We set a resolution. And then we went about using the insert object dialog to create 4 separate active objects. And then each one of these, the bullet, the large roid, the ship, and the small roid are all the 4 active objects. I then drew them in the picture editor right here. Some of them have animation, like the bullet. We created a sequence of animations that give us this bullet effect. And then we went ahead and started to code. The first thing we coded, and I'll show you through our event list editor, is we created the asteroids by saying at the start of the frame, in other words, when this frame or this application boots up, that tests true, we're going to create some asteroids 15 times. That pauses the main loop, which you're looking at, and comes to line 3, which is the subroutine, and executes this 15 times over. So it reads 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 15, and then it continues on to line 4. We did that because on line 4, we're trying to determine if one of the ships is overlapping the asteroids we just created it and destroying it, and it seems to work. Now, here we have the set ship angle. We say always rotate the image, the single sprite, to the angle of the direction, the 32 directions that we're going, and then multiply it by 11.25, which converts our 32 direction base into a 360-degree direction base. These right here are wraparound code. So if the ship leaves any of the screen borders, it wraps around, and so do the asteroids and the bullets, which is why when we shoot, you see the bullets didn't wrap, which is interesting. We'll figure out why that is, but you can see the ship wrapped. And if we watch, the asteroids are also wrapping. Interesting, the bullet does not wrap. I wonder why that is. We'll have to figure that out a little bit later. All right, so hopefully our new friends are caught up, and we'll continue. Now, I don't know about you, but we need some sound. So I've already, for convenience, pulled up BFXR, and we're going to run through some laser sounds. I think I'm liking that. So I'm going to save that WAV file to the desktop. Laser Shoot 6 sounds like a great name. And I'm going to save it. And then I go into Fusion on the line where I'm actually shooting. I just add the additional condition. I'm in action that says place sample. I locate the file on my desktop. Test it. There you go. And then run it. Boom. Now we're shooting, and we got sounds for shooting. That's great. Now we're going to blow up the asteroids. Now the large asteroids need to break up into smaller ones. So it's not that hard to do. What we did, we first have to establish the condition. If the bullet collides with the large asteroid, which I believe is this one, not the small one, this is the large one, then we're going to create a small roid, and we're going to make it relative to where the large roid is. So if I look at this line in detail, I need to go back and fill in my graphics again so that you guys can see what I'm talking about. So that's our large roid sprite icon. The small one's looking good. The bullet needs a little help. Oh, that's wrong. Here, bullet. Bullets, bullets, bullets. Edit the icon. There we go. And I'm doing that because when we go back to the event editor, we want to be able to clearly see what we're talking about. So now you can see that when the bullet collides with the large roid, we create a small one from the large roid. And what we'd also do is we might want multiple. We can duplicate that action 3 times. And then the large asteroid that's been selected, we destroy it. We also want to destroy the bullet. Let's see if that worked. Okay, it did work. We created the objects, but you only see one, and that's because we haven't assigned a movement. So if I go here and I say bouncing ball, and we'll give it speed 10. Now run it. We've got multiple asteroids. Oh no. And I should be dead. We haven't coded it yet. All right. Other thing we could do is we could say collision between another asteroid. We could bounce it. Again, Fusion's super easy to work with. I could drag this down, and I could say with a smaller asteroid, bounce both. And then finally, we do the same thing here. And if it works right, we should get a bunch of bouncing asteroids. Oh, we do. Great. One other thing I'd like to see is some rotation. So on create roids, I'm going to, in addition to creating large roid, I'm going to say, I'm going to declare a variable, and I'm going to say rotation switch. And what I'm going to do is, using this variable as a Boolean, I'm going to, on creation, set rotation switch to random 2. That'll return a result of 0 or 1. Why are you doing that, Chris? That's a great question. Because visually, I think our asteroids should rotate, at least the large ones. So we go here, we say if the ultimate value of the rotation switch equals 0, and we're going to slow it down by adding a timer-based event. And we'll say every 10th of a second. We may have to adjust, but we'll go 10th of a second. And then we'll go ahead and say angle. And remember, we've selected a specific group of asteroids. So all the asteroids that have rotation switch equals 0 will have these actions committed, if you will, to them. So we grab the angle of each one, and then we're going to add 1. And we'll do maximum quality, because we just believe in quality here at GGDA. There we go. We'll reverse it by, instead of adding, subtracting. And so now some of the asteroids will spin one way, some of the asteroids will spin the other. Let's see how that looks. And see, that looks a lot better. Looking great here. It looks a little choppy on the screen, but it's definitely working. There we go. Now look at that. We got a bug there. Why is that happening? That's because the objects were already overlapped. And so they were having a hard time trying to figure out, are we colliding or are we not colliding? And so what we do there, it's simple. We got to pick that color again. We go into the objects. If I can get the object selected. And I believe we have our correct black still going. We do. We fill it in so that we have complete object detection. I'm going to turn fine detection off. Here's a case where we may want to turn it off in the properties. And then what I'm going to say is collision between these if the flag is on, flag 1. So flags are also Boolean type variables. We'll leave it like that. So they're only going to have a collision problem. They're only going to collide when the variables are on. The default nature is off. So if I shoot, they'll just spread apart. Now, how do we get the flag on? We say if is overlapping another instance of itself, and we negate it. So now we're saying if this particular asteroid is not overlapping another one, then set the flag off. I mean on, sorry. Flag on. Flag on! And then we run it. It's blowing up. Let's blow up another one. Now we get our bounces. Okay, now we got to destroy the small roids. Same similar process. We have this event here. We can copy it. We can change it to the small asteroid. And instead of creating new ones, we'll just destroy the bullet and the small asteroid. All right. Now we need to have our lose condition. So simply because we're making a very simple version of the game, I'm going to use the built-in game objects, which include lives. So we'll put lives up here in the corner. We'll go and edit the picture because obviously, this isn't Zelda. And we'll go ahead and grab our graphic tool here, go back to our white color, and we'll draw the ship. already know I've got a problem. That problem is my width needs to be greater. We'll go with 20. And the reason we're doing that is we don't want the ship to touch. And now I've got 3 ship lives. The other thing we need is score. Got to have score. So we'll grab a score object, and we'll go here, and we'll switch it to text, and we'll go with that kind of white color. Put it over here. All right, and I think it needs to be a bigger font. So let's go ahead and say bold and bigger. All right. So now we go into here, and for each time we destroy or shoot objects, we're going to add to score. So the big one will give a smaller score. We'll say 5. And for the larger ones, I mean the smaller ones, the faster ones, the ones that are harder to shoot, we'll say 10. Let's see if that works. So our score is increasing. Andrew says we need explosion sounds. I completely agree. So let's go into here, grab ourselves an explosion. I'm thinking, no. Okay, so we'll go with that for the large one. Large roid, and then we need another one for the smaller ones. Oh, that last one was too good. I like that. Let's overlap that. There we go. And then small roid. Now we go into here, and on the same events, we just copy the sounds over. So play sample, and then we find it on the desktop, and we say large roid, and then play sample, browse, small roid, and let's see how that works. All right, now we need our lose condition, which is easy. If here we're going to introduce groups real quick. So we can assign groups to multiple different objects. So I'm going to go ahead and select the large and small asteroid. By holding the shift key down, I've highlighted both. And then I'm going to go to here. I'm going to call them qualifiers. I'm going to edit it, add, and I want to say bad. Now you don't see a bad apple pop up anywhere here, but when we go to the event editor, you'll see that I now have a new column for actions and conditions. So now I can say if the ship collides with bad, then we can destroy the ship and subtract the life. This is how a lot of folks would do it. Subtract from lives 1. However, you know, I'm not most guys. I'm not going to destroy it, guys. I'm going to put it like that. And then I'm going to go in here, go to ship. I'm going to copy the ship animation. I'm going to create new and call it reset. I'm going to paste the animation. Duplicate it. Grab our shading tool, filling tool, and we're going to go make the outline darker. And we're not going to loop it, but we're going to repeat it 30 times. Why am I doing that? Well, we're going to do this. When we have the collision, we subtract the life. Then we're going to set the position of the ship to be in the very middle of the screen. So 1136 divided by 2. Oh, quickly someone, that's 500, 550, 515, 538, right? Did I get that right? I think so. And 640 is 320. Then going to set the speed to 0. I want to set the direction to look straight back up. Okay? And then finally, I'm going to change the animation to reset. Now, here we're going to say an additional condition, animation, which animation of the ship is playing. I'm going to say reset, but then I'm going to negate it. So now it reads, when we have a collision with the ship and a roid, and when this animation is not playing. The reason we do that is I've subtracted the life, but I need to reset the ship and give it time for the player to play. So let's see if that works. So now my ship's reset, and now I can go. Let's try it again. And while I'm flashing, I can't get hurt. Now it seemed to destroy when I was flashing. Why is that? Well, that's because up here, we have this event. If it's overlapping, destroy. Another way to double check that and make sure that it's not is we could say, is it less than a second? So now this will really only ever trigger in the first under a second. Great. So now we have a win condition, we have a lose condition, and I want to make it look a little snazzier. So I'm going to go here. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use a shader. Some of you have programmed before, may be familiar with shaders. I have one that I've gotten from some friends who made several games. The last one they did in Fusion was called Odelius. It's an incredible 2D side-scroller, like the original Castlevania. And he let me have the scanline shader that he created. The only problem is he's Italian. I think it's Italian. And I can't read any of this. So what I do is I've memorized the settings that I like. And I'm going to go ahead and input those. Now, the cool thing about shaders is I can also identify these by calling the label inside Fusion while it's running, and I can manipulate the shader while it's running, should I choose. Come on, 8. Why is the number 8 not working? There we go. Now we'll run it and see if that affects the look. Now you can see we've got that really cool CRT look. I love, right? It's starting to look a lot more like Asteroids, like the original Asteroids. But I'm not quite happy yet, folks. I'm not happy yet. What I need now is I need to get a new object, another active object, and I'm going to call this object scanline. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make it that color black that we had, which was 27 by 27 by 27. A foot. Get out of here, Yahoo. And then I'm going to shrink this down to 1 width with the height of the screen. I'm going to place it over here. We have the layers toolbar. I haven't really shown that, but the layers toolbar allows me to set different layers. I'm going to create a new layer, and I'm going to move my scanline object to that layer, and I'm going to set the hotspot to the top, and then I'm going to set it to 0, 0, which should put it right there. Now, we're going to create a new event at the start of frame, start a group of events, comment rather, create scanline, insert new event, start a frame, fast loop, a subroutine, create scanline, copy that. I'm going to say every third position. So we're going to say 3, we'll say 300. That should cover it. Now I could do the math and figure out exactly how many I need, but you'll see why I'm doing that in a second. So our new event, which is the on loop, we create the on loop, and then I'm going to say, this is the fun part. It's under animation, paste image into background, not an obstacle. And then I'm going to say position, set X position to 0 plus fast loop, get loop index, copy that over, times 3. I think that'll do it. Actually, I don't even need to do it that way. I can just say position, get X, and then just add 3. That should do it. So let's run it and see if that gives us the scan lines. So now we have our scan lines. So it's that CRT effect. But it can be vertical. I'm just a horizontal kind of guy. Now you can see over here that I don't have the scan lines going all the way over, so I need to create more. So we go here, and let's just say 400. Let's see if that gives us the appropriate number of scan lines. And it seems to go all the way over. Oops. Our ship needs an explosion sound, I think. So we go here, make another explosion sound. I like that. Export wave. Ship is dead. Okay. Put that in the app. And the app goes, so that's here. Play sample. Play sample. And browse. There it is. There we go. All right, so I got us this far. What else we want to do? You can see my lives in the top corner there. Okay, let's look at the respawn. Very good. Let's look at the event list editor. Now, instead of destroying the object, which you could do and create a new one, I'm resetting the object. So when the ship hits an asteroid, and we've identified an asteroid by taking both asteroid objects and including them in a qualifier, which we call group bad. So when a collision happens there, and the animation reset is not playing, I'm going to subtract 1 life. I'm going to reset the position of the ship. And I'm going to reset the speed and the direction, which is resetting the controls. And then finally, I'm going to change that animation sequence to reset, which will give us time should we create overlap on another asteroid to get out of the way. And then, of course, we play the sample that the ship is dead. And that's what gives us the ability to respawn. We need a thrust sound, maybe. So let's do a thrust sound. I'm first going to make one. That might work. Let's get the sustain time up. Maybe a little less volume. I don't know if I like it, but we'll give it a shot. Export wave, thrust. Now, we want it to loop, and how we're going to do that is we're going to say this. At the start of the frame, play and loop a sample. The sample we want to loop is the thrust sound. Right here. Now, in Fusion, I can loop any value I want, but if I want it to repeat endlessly, I add 0. So now it'll repeat endlessly. Now, if I was to run the app, you'll hear a bunch of thrust. We don't want to hear that all the time. So what we do is we say sample, set sample volume, thrust to 0. Now, rotation, we'll put it above here, comment, thrust, insert a new event. If the joystick state is repeatedly pushing upwards, which is thrust, then we're going to set the sample volume of thrust back to 100. We could even do it lower if we wanted to, but that's how we'll leave it. And then getting a new event, I'm just going to say never, drag this down, negate it. I then can make that sample volume back to 0. So we should only hear it when we thrust forward. So I'm spinning, nothing. Maybe we want some particle effects or explosions. Easy enough, create a particle effect. And we'll do very similar to what we did before. Get that off-white color. Make a square, crop it, center it, right? We want it to flash, so we'll give it slightly different shades. I'm going to shade it this way. Black. Oh, I said the color black. And then we go with slightly less. And we loop it. So we'll get that. And then we give it another movement. We go bouncing ball. And we can add deceleration. And then what we do is we say, whenever we have a collision between the roid, we could say fast loop, create collision. Right, 1. Well, we want to go more than 1. So we'll say 10. Oh, forgot to put my C in there. 10 times. One other thing we need, an invisible object. We'll just grab a blue diamond, a regular default active object. We're going to set its visibility to nothing. And then whenever we have a collision here, we're going to position, select the position relative to the bullet. Then I'm going to double click here. And I've got to put it above the destroy. Because if I have it down here like I did, it executes these actions in order. It's destroyed. There'll be nowhere to create, nowhere to set the position. So we put it up here. And the reason why we're doing that is when we go on loop and we create explosion, we're going to create each individual explosive object, which is active 2 currently, relative to our marker. And then with each object, we're going to movement, set speed, random, 30 plus 30. And then finally, if that object speed is collision, movement, set speed, that speed's lower than 2, then we destroy that object. Also here, I could also say scale, set scale 1 plus random 2, a little variable variation there, and hit 1 for maximum quality. So now we'll have a particle effect when we blow up the big ones. We're about out of time. I hope that's a fairly professional looking little asteroid example for Brian. I hope he's happy. I appreciate everybody showing up and taking a look at what we're doing. Hope to continue doing these in the future. One thing we want to mention to you is, if you got Clickteam Fusion, you could be a lot cooler if you did. Right? Y'all got any more of that Clickteam Fusion? And then we also have our own Kickstarter. I'm sorry, Patreon. It's more of a membership where we offer free things and have extra service and do more streams and exclusive downloads. And if you haven't signed up for the reactor yet, then shame. If anybody wants a discounted version of Fusion, stick around after the chat and talk to me. I can get you 50% off. I have a few promotional codes left over from the last stream that haven't been used up that I can offer. So, Brian, thanks for having me again. And if anybody has any questions, I'm standing by to answer them.
Alrighty, it looks like I'm back. Hey, they can see my pretty face again. Yes, I am extremely happy. That was awesome, dude. Thank you so much. And for our viewers, yes, remember, Fusion is available free online, or you can get so many more features with your paid version. And also for our live streamers, or if anybody's watching this after the live stream, that's right, we're going to be saving this tutorial on YouTube, so it's still going to be available. So keep that in mind. Let's see. Yes, you know me. I've got to run my mouth for just a little bit. I will try to be really quick here. No, I won't. I like talking. As we have said before, GGDA, the Georgia Game Developers Association, is a non-profit organization, and just like Clickteam here, we also have a Patreon. Your support helps us with efforts to improve game developers and our community. So please check out our Patreon. GGDA will link us there, and we'll be sure to put that into the comments on our YouTube channel. Also, coming up, September 12th, volunteer meeting at Kennesaw State University. If you're willing to help volunteer for Siege, I believe you get a free Siege pass if you volunteer. Is that correct, GGDA? But anyways, we are meeting, and GGDA has put up that link as well. If you're in Atlanta on the first weekend of October, SiegeCon, Jesse Shell is going to be our keynote speaker. Go visit the website at siegecon.net, and also check out the blog post. GGDA is going to post up those links here in just a moment. As we mentioned before, and as you can see here, that's right, we have a cafe press. We are selling merchandise. We are a nonprofit organization, so your purchases do help our organization. So go out, get a t-shirt, get a coffee cup, go get something, get it right now. As I mentioned before, Andrew's just now discovering this, we do have a YouTube channel. All of our videos that you see streaming will be put up permanently on YouTube and be available. So keep that in mind as well, Chris, when we stream with you again in the near future. There you go. There's that YouTube link. Very good. All right, and finally, Antlion Audio. This is some cool stuff here. They're offering 10% off on all of their mod mics and Antlion accessories. All you got to do is use the code GGDA, and this deal will end September 4th. You will get to see their pretty cool commercial here right after I get done talking. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in tonight. Looking forward to seeing our next this Thursday. We're going to get to see Diego Lizarazo. That's how you pronounce it. You get to see Diego Lizarazo working Construct 3. I'm not exactly sure what project he's got in mind. I think it's one of his own custom ones, but it's going to be pretty cool. Hey, Chris, you decided to join us. There's the man behind the voices. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's right. All teeth there. So thank you again, everybody, for tuning in tonight, and we will see you Thursday. Oh, one more thing. That's right. Next Tuesday, in celebration of Tripwire and releasing one of their games on the console very soon, you're going to get to watch me play Killing Floor 2 and get my rear end handed to me. I expect to die and die frequently, but that's the way it is. Now this night's going to be for mature audiences, but yeah, it's pretty bloody. It's going to be a lot of fun, but be sure to tune in next week. Once again, all right, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Chris, and we will see you later.